classes. My name is Allie. I'm a doctor of physical therapy as well as a nationally certified Pilates instructor. I've been practicing here in Boston over the last 5 years. I own my own practice here, and I have been teaching with the Community Online Academy since it started back in March. And so that's every Thursday, and welcome to those of you who are new. What we have today is a 30-minute program where we'll do some stretching, some strengthening, all to improve spine health, but using the foam roller. And my advice for you guys before we start class is to be honest with your body, to really listen to your body and what your body needs today. And that's how you'll get the most out of this workout. I offer a number of options to modify as well as to progress and regress the exercises. So please take the option that feels right for you, and that way you get the most out of this program and you leave feeling a little bit better than you came in. So we're gonna get started lying down on our backs. You're gonna take that roller with you and nestle it underneath your knees. So let me just adjust this down a tiny bit so you guys have a better view there. Okay. So find a comfortable position. You're gonna rest the roller underneath your knees. I call it the knee pit. And so once it's resting underneath the knees, the knee pit is kind of resting on top of the roller. We're gonna lie down on your backs, and you can choose to kind of roll down if you would like, and just find a comfortable position. So having the knees resting on the roller should feel maybe a little bit relaxing for your low back. Just let your body melt onto the mat, feeling the heaviness of your feet, the backs of your knees on the roller, your hips, shoulders, the top of your head. And as you lie here, we'll just take a moment to connect in with your breath. Notice any spots of tension as you lie here, maybe even closing your eyes, and starting to imagine your ribs and your lungs like a balloon. Taking inhale breaths in through the nose to open up and start to inflate and expand that balloon. From here, take exhale breaths out through the mouth, letting go of some of that stale air that hangs in the bottom of your lungs. Take an inhale breath in through the nose, open up, expand the ribs wide out to the side. And an exhale breath, feel that balloon gently deflate as you let that air go out through your mouth. We'll try one more big breath in like this, inhaling in through the nose and exhaling out through the mouth, and take a gentle rest. Now, we're gonna start here with a light bit of core work. So I want you to imagine that I'm balancing a glass of water right onto your navel. We're gonna keep that glass of water totally still. In fact, I like to keep my hands right on my trunk so I can kind of feel that nothing is moving underneath my hands. All we're gonna do from here is march one leg at a time up to a tabletop position. The opposite leg is resting on the back of the roller. So you can even maybe push that leg down into the roller to help create a little bit of extra stability. So really notice if your hips start to rock side to side, or maybe your ribs are lifting up off the mat. Go slow, go steady here with your movements as you lift and place it back down. Exhale to lift and lower back down. 3 more like this. Good. Last 2. Last time here, lower down. Now we're going to take the ball of both feet, kind of that space between your toes and the ball of your foot, onto the top of the roller. Same thing, the space between your ribs and hips should stay the same. You're going to roll that roller out away from you and pull it back in. Now you don't actually have to straighten your legs the whole way. If you feel the back of your ribs starting to lift off the floor, you know that you've gone a little bit too far with your legs. That means your core is no longer active to hold your spine still. I want you to think of pushing down into your feet, especially as you drag that roller back in towards your body. So we're starting to warm up our hamstrings a little bit here as well, pressing through the feet and rolling that roller out and away. 2 more times like this. Press it all the way out. Good. Once more here, roll that roller in, press it all the way out so it falls to the back of your ankles and hold. Now this is an optional challenge, but if you would like, reach your arms long overhead. We're gonna roll up to sitting, keeping our feet on the roller. So inhale, as you exhale, look to the toes, see if you can roll yourself up to sitting. It is not easy to do so. You can also press yourself on up, take your feet off that roller, and we're gonna bring it back behind us to start to work into our upper back. So for this rolling, we're gonna work from the very base of our neck down to below our shoulder blades, but we'll start with the roller right beneath our shoulder blades. So I like to just hold the roller with my hands, let it get set up underneath our shoulder blades, then bend both of your knees so that your feet are flat. Once you feel the pressure of your ribs down into the roller, hold your head in your hands. You can move your hair out of the way if you have long hair, or a hood if you're wearing a hood. And we're going to very gently push into our feet and start to roll to the base of our neck and then down just below the shoulder blades. So we're starting off here rolling along the length of our rib cage. We're not going all the way onto the neck, and we're also not going down into the low back. So we're staying on our thoracic spine, which is our mid back. And the reason is that this is often the area of the most stiffness. So what we're doing by just rolling back and forth here is rolling to, one, assess a little bit and see where those tight spots are, but two, create some mobility in the joints in our upper back. So if you find a particular spot that is tight, you can go ahead and pause on that spot, place your bottom down. You're going to draw your rib cage down towards your hips, but drop your spine over the shape of the roller. So it's like you're trying to create an arc with your body up and over the shape of the roller. We'll take a deep breath in here and a deep breath out through the mouth. You can nod your chin to your chest and start to roll once again. So gently rolling back and forth. You can either continue with your rolling or find another spot that feels tight, placing your bottom down and gently dropping your spine back over the shape of the roller behind you. Now I'll sit up, but you guys can keep rolling here to show you the two other dimensions we're going to add in. That is side bending, so tipping one hip towards your elbow, and rotation, lifting one elbow and lowering the opposite. We're going to do that on the roller. So I'll show you guys here, and this just helps us to get a little deeper into that thoracic spine. So as we're rolling back and forth here, you can tip your right elbow towards your right hip to open your left side body. And then you can tip your left elbow towards your left hip to open up your right side body. And just notice where your body needs more tension. For me, on my left side, I feel a little bit tighter today. So I'm going to spend a little bit of extra time there as I'm rolling back and forth. You can also rotate. So tip one elbow up to the ceiling and the other down to the floor. And that's going to really get into that side body, including your lat muscles, which are a shoulder muscle, but they do attach down towards your low back. So they can influence how our lower back moves and feels here. So choose where your body feels like it needs the most attention. And you can spend a little bit of extra time there and just let your breath be natural. Remember that as we're moving, we're mobilizing not only our thoracic spine, but our rib cage as well. So you can really enhance the stretch you get here by breathing into a deep rib expanding breath. We'll do just another moment like this. Good. And once more there. And then go ahead and place your hips down. Come up to a seated position for just a moment. Roll out your shoulders. Take a deep breath in here. Should feel maybe a little bit easier to breathe even from when we began class after moving our ribs around. So we're going to build in some strength now. So we're going to set up the roller right underneath the shoulder blades once again, holding the head in the hands with knees bent. Now, that pressure of your rib cage back behind you is important here. That's what's going to help keep the roller still, but also help keep your abdominals engaged. So just like we started class with those little marches, you're going to lift one foot at a time, drawing your knee up and in towards your chest, keeping the pressure of your back ribs down into the roller behind you. Good. So gently lift the knee up and in, lift up and in, Press the back ribs down and continue to march. Now, if this is feeling particularly easy here and you'd like to progress this challenge, pick both of your feet up to your tabletop position. And you can try pressing both legs out and both legs in. Press up a little bit higher as a modification, down a little bit lower as a challenge, or single leg has another option for modification here. Now continue to press the ribs down into the roller behind you. If you feel that you're lifting your ribs off, that means your core is being challenged a little too much here. 4 more. Good. 3. And pull in. Exhale, press out. 2. 1 more time there. Pull all the way in. Place both feet down. And you can drape your spine over the back of the roller, taking a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Awesome. We're going to lift on up, and we'll continue to build some strength into that extension pattern. So we're going to flip over onto our stomachs now and place both hands onto the roller. So if you have shoulder sensitivity or this is a new exercise for you, I would start with bent elbows. If you'd like to progress, you can start with straight elbows, arms out in front of you. Tops of the feet are glued to the floor. Feet are a little bit wider than hip distance. You're going to start by keeping your neck long, roll your shoulders down away from your ears, push down into your hands, start to lift your upper back, and gently melt back down. Head is long. Shoulders down away from the ears, push down into the hands, and press the roller out long, reaching away from you. Inhale. Exhale, lift the head, lift the heart, push the hands down into the mat, and gently, slowly melting down. We'll try 3 more like this. Very nice. I'll show you guys with modified form here. 2. And softly, gently lower back down. 1 more time here. Come up, 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 and then drop the shoulders down away from the ears, releasing the fingertips forward, and press yourself up and back. And we'll take a moment's pause. Now we're going to use the roller in this next exercise to challenge our body in a somewhat asymmetrical way. So looking at our balance and the support between our shoulders and our hips. So I'm going to turn that roller so that it is lengthwise along my mat, and I'm going to place my right hand on top of it in an all fours position. So right hand is on top of the roller, left hand is underneath my shoulder rather. And then once you're here, try and find your flat back position. Neck is long, rib cage lifts up away from the floor. Without disrupting that flat back, can you slide your left leg straight back behind you? Holding that left leg really straight, really long, we're going to do a little push up, down, and lift. Lower, down, lift up. So think of your left leg like a scorpion tail reaching up, back behind you, trying to keep that roller steady by pushing flat down into your right hand. 3 more. Lift. 2. 1 more time here. Lift up. Good. We're going to roll that roller over to the other side and compare here. If you have any sensitivities to kneeling, you can always roll up your mat a couple of times here. So left hand goes onto the roller, right hand is down onto the floor. Draw your ribs up away from the mat, shoulder down away from the ear. You're going to reach the right leg long back behind you, straighten that leg, neck is long, and using that straight right leg to lift, we dip down, come up, dip down, come up. I know this side feels more balanced for me. You can notice whether there is a difference from side to side for your body. 2 more. Good. Once more here. Come all the way up, drop it down, and we'll take a little rest. Nice job, guys. So we're going to get into the muscles now on the back side of our legs. And those muscles are important for a lot of reasons. They support our spine in forward and backwards movements. They're also ones that tend to get pretty tight with sitting. So we're going to find our glutes first by sitting right on top of the roller. And we'll do one side and then the other. I think it's a little easier to get in to the muscle itself. So we'll try the left side first by placing left hand back behind you, tip your body weight to the left just slightly, and you're gonna start to roll front to back. So rolling along the length of the muscle here. Remember that in foam rolling, you wanna be on the muscle, not on bone. And so you'll find a big bone on the side of your hip, a big bone on the bottom of your hip. You would call that maybe your sits bone. You wanna be careful to stay on the muscle and not over those bones itself, because it doesn't feel very good. Our bones don't like to have that same kind of pressure. Now, if you feel like you need more body weight, you can cross your right leg on top of your left to pressure the left side a little bit deeper. You can also orient yourself a little bit more to the side to get into some of those side hip muscles, or keep yourself facing more up to the ceiling. And different people are going to need that support in different areas. So work within what's good for your body today. Notice your right shoulder. If that's starting to bother you, drop your shoulder away from your ear. Be attentive to that posture as well as you're gently rolling front to back here. Good. That's it, guys. We'll do just another moment before we go ahead and transition over to that right side. So from here, we'll take a little turn. We're going to switch to rotate our body to the right, placing the right hand down on the mat, and gently just start to roll front to back through the right side. Being cautious of that big bone on the side of the hip, as well as the one at the very bottom of your pelvis. But know that your glute muscles do go all the way up along the back side of your pelvis as well. So they go fairly high, and sometimes we do have tension in those muscles. So kind of work out and explore, feel where your body needs attention. And that may even be different from side to side. I know for me on my right side, I need a little bit more attention facing up to the ceiling, so that more central part of the glute. And the glute is made up of a bunch of smaller muscles. So it really is normal and accepted that many people have spots of tension in different areas. Good, we'll spend just another moment here. And then we're gonna go ahead and take that into our hamstrings next. So you can sit on your bottom and just let the back of your legs, your thighs rest onto the roller. Our hamstrings run from our knee joint all the way up to our hip joint. We want to roll between the joints, not on the joints. So for this one, we're going to take our hands, reach them about 6 to 8 inches behind our bottom, let our legs rest heavy on the roller, and start to roll right up to our glutes, and then come all the way back down to the knees. We're not going to roll over the knees themselves. We're trying to stay within the muscle group. Like I said, we don't want to roll over bone. We want to be careful not rolling over joints as well. Now with this type of rolling, this can feel pretty gentle. If you want to do more pressure, you're going to cross one ankle on top of the other and start to roll from your hips down to your knee, and getting that same pattern, but just with a little bit more body weight. And you can try the same thing on the other side and notice if maybe one side needs more attention than the other. The other thing you can try as a variation here is that the hamstring itself is made up of 3 small muscles. So you can roll a little bit to the outside of the leg and a little bit to the inside, and you may find that different parts or different fibers of that hamstring are tight in different areas. So make sure that if your shoulders or wrists are getting tired, to take a moment to reset. Try and hold that good open shoulder posture. That will help protect the shoulders and the wrists, as I know becomes a lot of work in that setup. Good. We'll spend just a moment more here, building in that strength, mobility into these muscles on the back side of the legs before we get into a little bit of strengthening for the hamstrings and the glutes. Nice, guys. So we'll go ahead and get into that strength part next. If you would like to try another roll down here to come onto the mat, keep your legs resting on the roller. You can gently lower your spine all the way down onto the mat, and then take the arches of the top of your feet onto the roller. Once you're set up in this position, the roller should be pretty close. You should be able to tap it with your fingertips. And once that roller is close, think of pushing your feet down into the roller, like you are going to pin it to the floor. And for the first part of our movement, the roller shouldn't move. Arms stay down by your side. Imagine like there's a mini ball between your knees that you're gently hugging in on. So gentle hug of the knees, arms down by your side, push your feet into the floor. You're gonna lift the hips up. Now we roll the roller out an inch, in an inch, drop the hips back down. We lift on up, the roller is steady. Now we move it 1 inch out, 1 inch in, drop the hips back down. This is our glutes that work as we lift the hips up, and our hamstrings that work as we create this little roll. You have the option here to just do the bridging part of this motion. So if this is tricky enough, you can work on this here. You can also take your feet down onto the floor. We'll try 3 more of this sequence, lifting up, out, in, and drop. 2 more here. We lift up, out, in, and drop down. Once more here, lift up, out, in, drop the hips back down, and we'll take a moment's rest. You can go ahead and roll that roller out straight, and we're gonna come back up to our seated position to get into our calves. So take a nice full long spine stretch overhead, big inhale. As you exhale, fingertips reach up to the ceiling, look down to your toes, curl and roll yourself all the way on up. And we will get into our calf muscle next. So our calf is gonna come from our knee all the way down to our ankle. So we're gonna try and roll between those joints in a very similar way that we did for the hamstrings. So hands are gonna reach back behind us once again, open up the collarbones, and we'll pick our bottom up and start to roll. I like to imagine that I'm threading my bottom through my shoulders and then pressing them forward. It is a lot of core work to do this exercise as well. Just like we did with the hamstrings, you can cross one ankle on top of the other to put a little bit more body weight into one side and vice versa. So you may need to spend more time on one side compared to the other. Now, we do the calves because they are our body's first shock absorbers when we're walking and definitely when we're running. And that's important because we don't want all of that shock of our body weight hitting the ground to go right into our spine. And so calves can be quite tight. They can also tend to be a little bit weak. So we're going to do a little bit of strengthening for them in a moment. But we'll continue with this rolling here. You can also, in this position, just like the hamstrings, roll your legs out or roll your legs in. The calf muscle itself is a fairly broad, meaty muscle. You can get into the different parts on the outside versus the inside to spend a little bit more time there. Now, if your wrists are getting really tired and sore here, you can do this on your forearms, and I'll demonstrate. It is more work for your shoulders, but it's something you can certainly try here. So smaller range of motion, but here on the shoulders, you can always creep and adjust in a little bit closer and try that same form there if that's more comfortable for you. So we'll do just another moment before we come all the way up to the standing position to do a little bit of calf work. Good. Once more here. And then you can place your bottom down, gather your feet, and we're gonna come up to standing. So come up to your stand in any way that's comfortable for your body. If you know you have any balance difficulties, you can bring your roller with you to hold on. I'm gonna adjust the camera just a tiny bit so that you guys can see. Okay, so in working on our calves, we wanna first find a parallel position with the feet. So look down, make sure the feet are parallel to one another, and your feet should be right underneath your hip joint. So if you imagine your hips are not actually the widest part of your legs, your hip joint is where your femur bone comes up into the pelvis. And so that's kind of right in the middle of the thigh bone for most people. So when you look down, that's where your feet should be. That is our most stable alignment. In standing, we want our shoulders over our hips, hips over our knees, knees over our ankles. So we're stacked up nice and tall. We're gonna start to lift and lower in a calf raise, coming up onto the toes, lowering back down onto the heels. Now, I want you guys to imagine that we're lifting and lowering from a sheet of glass. So we're really kind of being delicate about when we lower back down. That's where that shock absorbing comes in, where our calf muscles are able to work slowly lowering, gently lowering our body to the ground. As you lift and lower here, notice if your body is compensating by leaning backwards or maybe by rocking one side to the other. You feel your ankles wobble. Slow it down. Try and keep your core active. See if you can even keep your glutes active as we continue to lift and lower. And I know that these can get tiring as we practice them here. This is a great exercise you can do while waiting in line. It's something that comes in handy. And like I said, I think a lot of people tend to be a little bit weak in these muscles. This is also a muscle that helps to act like a pump to return blood back to our heart. So if you're someone who tends to have maybe a little bit of pooling of blood in your feet, a little edema by the end of the day, this is a really helpful little trick. 3 more. Good. 2. Last time here, and lower back down. Awesome, guys. So we're going to finish the movement part of our class in standing with 3 community breaths together. So feel your feet grounded down underneath you. We're going to take it back to our breath work here. So big inhale breath, reach up tall, lengthen the fingertips to the ceiling, and exhale, let it go. Again, another inhale breath, big reach up tall, lift, and exhale to release. Once more here, big inhale, stretch up, and exhale, let that air go, and gently take a breath. Good, so that concludes the movement-based part of our class. I wanna highlight just a few things here. So I hope you guys learned a couple new techniques in terms of how to use your foam roller at home. When we were rolling the upper back, that is something that you can do daily. You could even do a couple times a day. So that's really nice for posture, especially if you have to spend a lot of time sitting for work. The other rolling that we did for the backside of our legs, so our glutes, our hamstrings, our calves, that's something you might do 2 to 3 times a week. So our muscles will need a little bit of recovery time for that. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of perspective on how often to use your roller in that kind of way. I'd love to take any other questions that you guys have. It looks like there's one in the chat here that I'll read. But if you want, you can send other questions over or unmute yourself because we're a nice small group for our 5-star members. So let me go ahead and read this one here. Okay, so a good question here. Anthony asked, during the movement where we're on our stomach and lifting the chest up, is it normal to feel a lot of compression in the spine? So yes, it is normal, but no, it is not the intended effect. And there's a couple reasons why you may feel that. One is that many of us are restricted in that extension movement. So in that way, when it's a range of motion restriction, it's not a bad thing in that you are working on that motion. But sometimes we also feel restriction and compression in the spine when our core is not active there. So the most important cue I can give you when you're thinking about that exercise to help engage your core is to actually push your hands down into the floor. So not only pulling the roller towards you, but pushing down will help you actively lift your core. I'm gonna demo that one just so you guys can see if you're not sure what exercise I'm talking about. So that's the one where your hands are on the roller here. So if I simply pull the roller to me without really pushing down, can you guys see how my low back starts to arch right away and I kind of get stuck? I can't really go much farther. When I push down into the roller, automatically my whole spine is lifting, but my core is also working really hard to lift me up there. So that pressure down into the hands helps draw my rib cage off the mat as well. So that should help to feel a little bit less compression in that position, but it is a very hard exercise, so it takes a little bit of practice. Any other questions that I can answer for you guys today? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'll quickly share my screen here with the QR code for this class for the feedback app. And if you have other questions, feel free to send them over, but I'll put this up as I know many of you probably have to get back to work. So here is the 5-star meeting tag for this class. So if you use this QR code, it will bring you right to the feedback app. And that way there is some context to the feedback that you leave. I'll know it's for this class. So I'll leave this up here for just a few more moments. And like I said, you're welcome to unmute yourself if you want to ask any additional questions. You can also just write them to me in the chat. But thank you guys so much for joining in today. It was great to have you all in this program. I teach a bunch of classes on Thursdays, so you're more than welcome to join in for the rest of them that I have today. But if not, for next week, the sign-ups start at 12 p.m. Eastern time. So for our 5-star members, it's a little earlier than everyone else. So just keep that in mind. It's 12 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow for next week's classes. All right, so let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen here. All right, thank you guys so much. I hope to see you all again, and thanks for joining in today. Have a great rest of your day.